Fox News alert: President Trump praising the Supreme Court's decision to uphold the latest version of his administration's controversial travel ban, which allows travel restrictions to remain in place for 5 mostly Muslim nations: Syria, Iran, Yemen, Libya, and Somalia, as well as limited sanctions on North Korea and Venezuela. The decision sparking protests across the country. The reaction still pouring in from Washington, of course. That seems to be divided.
Today's Supreme Court ruling just coming out, a tremendous success, a tremendous victory for the American people and for our Constitution. We have to be tough, and we have to be safe, and we have to be secure.
This is not a religious ban. The first order was poorly written. The third iteration of the executive order made a lot of sense to me. You're picking out countries with high threat levels, with a poor vetting process, so it makes sense, and I think this ruling makes it safer.
If it really was about our safety, it would be a different list, two different tailored list. But again, this stems from a person that started their campaign talking about Mexicans and Muslims in a way that just disappoints me.
Let's bring in Louisiana Republican Senator John Kennedy. He serves on the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator Kennedy, thank you for your time this morning.
You bet.
Well, you've been roaming the halls there. What is the reaction you're hearing from your colleagues as this sits in this morning?
Well, mixed, depending on your politics. But if you set aside your politics, and if you know the difference between a law book and an LL Bean catalog, and you read the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965, the ruling was clearly correct. In that act, Congress has given the president, whomever the president may be, broad power to protect this country and use the immigration laws to do it. And all the president said in his executive order, he said, here are 7 countries, they're state sponsors of terrorism, and we can't check people out. We can't do a background check on the people who live in those countries who want to come to America. How are you going to do a background check on somebody from Syria? You going to call the Syrian Chamber of Commerce? I mean, the country's at war. And the president said, because of this danger, we're not going to let these folks in. And it's a matter of national security. The dissent tried to make it a religious test. Basically, what the dissent says, as I read it, if Muslims, if you're a practitioner of the Muslim religion, you deserve special treatment. I don't agree with that. This executive order treats all religions equally. Venezuela was on the list. Venezuela is 88% Roman Catholic. 10% of the people in Syria are Christians. Now, the dissent seemed to say, and some of the left wing, the Maxine Waters wing of Washington, which is a lot of people, they say, well, if the list includes any Muslims, Muslims can't be forbidden because they deserve special treatment. And I don't read the Constitution that way. Does this ruling, as your colleague in the Senate, Lindsey Graham, said, make this country safer? Oh yeah, there's no question. I mean, if you live in Syria right now and you want to come to America, how do we check you out? If you live in Venezuela, if you live in Yemen, right, and they say we're a good person, we want to come to America. Well, we need to do a background check. How do you do that?
So, Senator, I'm going to jump in here because we've got images of Peter Strzok, the anti-Trump FBI agent. He is now arriving on Capitol Hill, and I say anti-Trump agent because, of course, all of those thousands of text messages have now been revealed about his anti-Trump sentiment while working at the FBI. But that was Peter Strzok. He has arrived. He will be sitting down behind closed doors with members of Congress shortly to answer some questions there. He has agreed to do so voluntarily. Before I move on the idea of immigration, Senator, do you have anything to add there, as we just saw Peter Strzok arrive there?
No, I think the decision by the U.S. Supreme Court was correct. It upheld the rule of law. It upheld the importance of national security. I regret that the dissent just talked about President Trump. The majority opinion, as it should, talked about the presidency.
All right. Meanwhile, House leaders are expected to vote on this compromised immigration bill this morning, or today, I should say. What are you hearing about the likelihood of that passing, Senator?
Oh, all across the spectrum. I don't think Democrats will vote for anything if they perceive it as a victory for President Trump. I regret that, but I think that's just the political reality. Frankly, I'm not going to support any immigration legislation until we first secure the border. Period. End of discussion.
All right. Senator Kennedy, always good to have you on the program. Hope you come back. Busy morning there. Thank you, sir.